So we've all read the amazing stories, right? You grow up poor, living in a shelter without enough food. Parents are working 3 jobs, they're struggling, but through hard work, dedication, and perseverance, the poor, broke soul becomes a multimillionaire, right? And so the story goes. And we've all read them, and some of them are so inspiring. But what's the truth? And more importantly, what do you need to know to avoid an unhappy ending that so many of them end up in? And a lot of people say, well, zero sum game. This is a negative sum game. So I want to really dive into today, rags to riches and what you need to know. So stay tuned. Hi, I'm Annette Bau, host of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast and founder of the Millionaire Insider. My mission is to help you simplify the money game so you can create a financially secure and fulfilled life without having to have a PhD or spend countless hours on your finances. You're going to learn how to think like a millionaire, stop worrying about money and wondering if your financial house is truly in order, and instead spend your time doing what you love. With over 3 decades advising 7, 8, and even 9-figure millionaires, and now joining that elite group, I'm in a unique position to help you make the best financial choices so you can create a secure financial future and retirement you love. This is the Wealth Inside and Out podcast. If you want to know your next best financial step, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. This is going to help you to determine the next best step to help you secure your financial future and create a retirement you love. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. Today's free resource is our Millionaire Mindset Guide. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/SMMG. In this resource, you're going to learn how millionaires think so you can avoid the rags to riches nightmare that occurs when you're not thinking right? You're not thinking right. You're not acting right. So many things are governing you from out there versus internally. This insight is so valuable to get you on the right track. So again, themillionaireinsider.com/SMMG. For today's show notes, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/60. All materials and intellectual property are copywritten by themillionaireseries.com. This information is for educational purposes only and is not intended to replace any advisor or specialist or to provide you any investment, financial, tax, retirement, planning, or healthcare advice. So let's dive into rags to riches, 4 insights to avoid failing. The first one is your self-worth and self-esteem. And this is critical regardless of how much money you have, but it's especially important if you got money, because that's why so many people lose the money. You've got to know your worth and your value. You've got to know that you've got this. You have your back. Because what I see a lot of times is that when people lack the confidence and they don't have an advisor or a financial coach or somebody there that's helping them, it can just be disastrous. And it's unfortunate because so much of it could have been avoided or maybe even mitigated had they had that support. But you got to know your value. And the first step is really to work on your self-worth, which is your worth barometer. I talk so much about worth barometer, but it's because it's so critical. It literally dictates so much about your life. And I'll link to it in the show notes, episode 3 at themillionaireinsider.com/3, but I'll also link to it in the show notes. Your worth barometer is a combination of your belief and your self-esteem. It has an impact on your wealth barometer. You have to have a healthy worth barometer to have a fulfilled life. And so it's absolutely critical because you can have money and have a low worth barometer, but if you have a low worth barometer, you'll never have peace of mind. You'll never be fulfilled. So it's just an empty hole that just is so miserable. And I just saw so many people go down it. And that's what my 40 years of research has been all about. When you grow up in poverty, one of the biggest challenges is you don't feel like you have control in your life. And a lot of times that damages our self-esteem. This can also happen if you're in a marriage or a relationship where you feel very suppressed. I see the same thing happening when people have very controlling partners. And especially like if somebody's not had any access to money and then all of a sudden they get millions. It's a disaster, absolute disaster. But what ends up happening a lot of times is it causes you to overperform, meaning you're trying to prove that you are enough. You're trying to prove that you've got what it takes. And what ends up happening is you start making decisions more so to get approval from out there, to get notice from out there because you don't feel enough within. And that is just dangerous. What you find is a lot of times people will make money only to lose it. It's largely because they don't feel they're worthy. Or again, they're trying to get attention, they're trying to get noticed from people out there because they don't have it within themselves. They have an unhealthy worth barometer and it can wreak havoc in every area of their life, their relationships, their money, their business, their life. What I encourage you to do is just start incorporating some practices into your life, whether it is focused breathing is a great one, silent meditation, guided meditation, yoga, positive prayer, chants, all those things can really help to raise your vibe and to help increase your self-esteem. And if you have severe issues, I encourage you to find a therapist. I've had a therapist on and off most of my life, and it's the best thing that I could have ever done. In fact, they basically saved my life. I don't know if I'd be here if I didn't have one. But it's important that you find a good one because just like all walks of life, there's some that are better than others. But the key is really getting somebody who is really clear and can help you work through some of those issues, especially if you have issues that stem from your childhood of not having enough. If you were poor, maybe you always had hand-me-downs or you didn't have adequate clothes or food. I can remember one family we would donate all of our clothes to. And it just was so embarrassing for them because they'd come and, I would have this ski jacket I can remember. And it was like pink and orange and yellow. It was really bright. And then they're wearing it. So they clearly knew that it had been mine. And it was just, they were always getting free lunches. And I just remember feeling so bad for them because there were a bunch of kids and they just didn't have money. And those things impact our lives long after they occur. If you didn't come from money, and especially if you came from extreme poverty, I encourage you to get help. Now, for some of us, I came from a very middle-class family, blue collar, which I'm actually really proud of. Coming from a blue collar family, I will tell you is great because you really learn the value of hard work. And I'm not afraid to work hard. Now, that said, I probably need to learn a little more to relax. But blue collar is a great thing because you learn a lot of discipline. And if you learn discipline, not only to work hard, but then to save and accumulate your wealth, that is ideal. The next thing you want to do is create your plan. Now, to succeed with money, whether it's the fact that you're just saving money and then you retire, or the fact that you are, you made it big, you didn't have any money and then you made it big, you still need to have a plan and really an entire financial plan. Begin with your budget, looking at your income from all sources and your expenses. You got to get that under control. In one of the recent episodes, I was talking about how people think that when they win money or they inherit money, that it's infinite. It's never going to end. But there's no one in the world that has an infinite amount of money other than the government. They can just keep printing money. But everyone else, all of us, we have a finite amount, including Bill Gates and Oprah's, the example I gave. So we got to have our spending under control. If you have an issue in that, I really encourage you to go and listen to some past episodes that will really help you to avoid overspending. And episode 27 is all about overspending, and I'll link to that in the show notes. You want to review your insurance plan. This includes your property and casualty, umbrella policy, disability insurance, life insurance, long-term care, all of the insurances, just to make sure that you've got adequate coverage, you're not overinsured and you're not underinsured. One thing I want to make a point of about life insurance. I love life insurance, but I love having the right amount of life insurance more than anything. That means if you can't afford a permanent policy, like a universal or even a whole life, you buy term. And even though I prefer permanent, if you need it for more than 7 years, I feel permanent is better. That said, I see a lot of times people can't afford the amount of whole life or universal life they need, but somebody sold them that policy as compared to term. You need to get the amount of coverage you need. And as rule of thumb, for every $1 million you have, you're going to be somewhere between 30 and 40,000 in your pocket. Now, it could be a little higher, a little lower, but somewhere around there. So just do the math. If you need 60,000, you need 2 million. If you need 90,000, you need 3 million. And so just do the numbers, but make sure you've got adequate coverage. I've yet to ever see a beneficiary say, "Oh, please take this money back. I just have too much." It just doesn't happen. Then you want to do your tax plan. Needs to be coordinated with your investments, your retirement plan, which is so critical. Now, this is the key on retirement planning. You want to have ideally a mix of half of your retirement plan in like retirement accounts, IRAs, 401ks, different types of profit sharing. And then you want to have personal monies. These might be in personal accounts, annuities, things like that. But you want to have those split so you have flexibility of when to take the money out. When I see people who have almost all their money in retirement accounts, all of that's going to be subject to ordinary income tax. And a lot of times they're pushed into a higher bracket because of it. So make sure and diversify, and always, always check with a qualified advisor. You can go to themillionaireinsider.com/support-request to talk to a financial coach, and they can help you determine your next best step. The next thing is estate planning. Now, this typically includes a trust, a pour-over will to make sure if assets that didn't get into the trust will ultimately get there, a power of attorney, and then medical directives. And depending on the state, there might be a burial plan. There's just different documents, but you want to make sure you have a competent estate planning attorney, ideally somebody who is knowledgeable in tax planning. And then 3, you want to hire your team of advisors. This can include a financial coach or therapist. If you have deep-rooted issues, you want to look at hiring a therapist or a financial coach. They can help you with money issues. Some can help you with low self-esteem, guilt about money. If they're really deep-rooted issues, then I encourage you to find a therapist. Sometimes you find money coaches that are really good too. So just look and see what you need. If you do need psychological help, or you do need help from a standpoint of the psychology of money, find it. You're going to be so glad you did. And then the other component is your financial advisor, your attorney, and your CPA, really your team of advisors. Your financial advisor is going to help you with your financial plan, your investment plan, and your estate plan. Now, there are a lot of financial coaches and money coaches who are giving financial advice. I truly just don't believe they know. I do not think they're out there trying to do something wrong. If you're giving investment advice, you need to be registered. And states are coming down on people, and so is the FTC. So make sure that if you're out getting advice from somebody, you make sure they are qualified. One of the things I see with rich people, and when I say a rich person, I'm talking more like new money, is they often hire advisors who agree with them, like who do what they are told to do. It's really important that you like who you're working with. But one of the things that I found so fascinating with my clients, and I didn't realize this until about 10 years in, is that if I didn't think they were making the right decision, I would tell them. And I can remember, oh my God, I can remember like it was yesterday. I'm at these people's second home, and it was a multi-million-dollar home. They were very wealthy. He wanted to do something with his defined benefit pension plan, which would impact himself and his entire company. And it was a multi-million-dollar decision. And I said, you can't do that. And it was basically a stock that had gone from like 7 to like 15. It kept doubling until right now it was like at around $300. And I said, this is just crazy. You can't do it. I'll never forget it because I still work with this person to this day, but he was like so mad at me. And I was like, I left and I'm like, I'm either going to be the hero or I'm going to be fired. But I just had to stick to my guns. I'm like, this is not good. Well, oh my God, knock on wood. That company ended up, so they hit even a little bit higher and then they went down and they actually ultimately went into like a penny stock. It was like, oh my gosh, he would have lost millions. So of course, after that, he always listened to me. But what I realized is that most wealthy people want an advisor that doesn't just agree with them. But I find people that are new money, they really want somebody that does what they want them to do. And that could just be really dangerous. One of the things I see also that happens with that is they'll hire an advisor that, allows them to take more risk than really they should, meaning let's say their risk tolerance is lower or they have them invested in really aggressive investments. That's just never ideal, especially if you're more conservative or you want to retain your wealth so you don't have to go back to work. You also want to consider advisors who have experience. Somebody who has more experience typically is going to be able to give you better advice because they've lived through it. When I got out of college, I have a degree in finance and emphasis in psychology. And then a few years later, I got my CFP. And so I knew a lot of things in theory, but now having done this for over 3 decades, I've pretty much seen everything. In fact, recently I had a couple of situations where I'm like, wow, I never saw that. You can connect the dots because you have the experience. And that's what I encourage you to look for when you're looking to find the right advisor. And then the next area is to educate yourself to make better decisions. Regardless of how much money you have, you need to learn how to make really good decisions. Some of that is just practice, trial and error. It's also having somebody that has your back who can say, wait a minute, that doesn't sound right. Or what about this? I encourage you to take classes from qualified people. Go read our blog at themillionaireinsider.com/blog. There are so many resources there. Or continue to listen to this podcast. Even go back and listen to some of our other episodes. At themillionaireinsider.com/podcast, you can find all of our episodes. I encourage you to meet friends and make connections with other people who prioritize a financially secure future. If you're with people and they're kind of like making fun of you because, oh, you are saving for retirement, or, oh, because you're this, or you're too concerned about money, maybe it's time to just find some new influences. You're going to be so glad you did. So there you have it. So let's recap on Rags to Riches, 4 insights to avoid failing. You've got to improve your self-worth and self-esteem, regardless of how much money you have, but especially if you go from no money to a lot. You also need to create your plan. And this encompasses your financial plan as well as a spending, tax, insurance, retirement, and estate plan. You want to hire a team of advisors. If you need a financial coach or therapist, hire one. Don't be embarrassed. Here I am telling all these people listening to me that I have had a therapist my whole life. It was the best decision I ever made. Marrying my husband was a good one too, but having a therapist was so helpful. In fact, she helped me from marrying. Oh my gosh, I had a couple different ones that really helped me from not marrying the wrong person. And I think, oh my gosh, that would have been a disaster. You know, a lot of money, but a lot of control. And I'm just so thankful that I had the courage to go and see somebody and to accept that I didn't know everything and that somebody could really help me. Look at hiring a financial advisor or CPA or attorney. If you need help in any of these areas, you can go to themillionaireinsider.com/support-request. And then last, but most certainly not least, continue to educate yourself. Just become knowledgeable. Knowledge is going to pay off. Even if you're delegating some aspects of your financial plan, you also need to be inspecting. And I don't care what your background is. If you have money, you've got to have your own back. Where I see so many people get into trouble is they're like, well, I just don't know anything. If you can connect dots in one area, you can connect dots in the other area. And just by your listening here, it tells me that you're a lot brighter than you probably give yourself credit for. So pay attention. If something doesn't seem right, don't stop there. Go and ask somebody else. Go hire somebody. Go fill out our form at millionaireinsider.com/support-request. You'll be so glad you did. Asking questions and getting answers until you're comfortable is the right course. So there you have it. If you love the content of this podcast, please follow and subscribe to our channel so you get notified of episodes, and also give us a 5-star review and share a comment. We really appreciate it. Congratulations on taking another step to create a financially free life you love. If you're not sure about your financial future or that it's in order, or you are ready to stop worrying about money, or possibly the fear of becoming a bag lady, ending up broke in retirement, or you simply are ready to know your financial house is in order so that you can have a bright financial future, please go to themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. And that doesn't stand for non-sufficient funds. It stands for next step finance. It's the next best step of what you need to do so you can avoid an NSF notice in your future. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. The number of women who were not broke or poor while working or married is staggering. The entire mission of the Wealth Inside and Out podcast is to ensure you have the information for you, your family, your friends, anyone who's willing to listen to it and apply it so that you can create a financially free life you love. Again, themillionaireinsider.com/NSF. Until our next episode, take one action that will help you create a financially free life you love. I'm Annette Ba'u, your host. All international copyrights are reserved. Bye for now.